Hi, AP Psychology students, and welcome back. Today we are continuing our topic of motivation and emotion, but moving from motivation into theories of emotion. This aligns with College Board topic 4.7, learning objective, explain how the theories of emotion apply to behavior and mental processes. And in order to meet this objective, we're going to focus on two essential questions. First is, what are the basic components of human emotion? And then second, what theories explain how we experience emotions? So first of all, let's just review, or at least kind of open up the conversation with the idea of what is an emotion. So most of us, we have an emotion. We have emotions all the time, right? We feel angry, we feel happy, we feel sad, we feel afraid, we feel nervous, right? But really, what are the components that make up a human emotion? So emotions are actually a mix of things, right? They are body arousal. So you have your body's kind of feeling, right? You either have your heart rate increase or you're breathing. You might cry, you might shake, butterflies in your stomach, any of those things, right, could happen. You have the expressive behavior. So you smile, you have tears coming down your face, you might run away if you're scared, or hunch your shoulders if you're sad. Any of those would be an expressive behavior. You have your conscious experience. So you have the thoughts that align with the situation and connect to the emotion. And then you have ultimately the feeling, right? The panic, the love, the joy, the shock, the surprise, etc. Now, psychologists disagree on the combination of factors and the order in which they happen. So there's a couple different theories that kind of addresses this disagreement. What's interesting is that most of us think of kind of that common sense approach, which is the idea that, okay, we have a feeling, and that feeling then leads to a body reaction and a behavior, right? So like, I'm happy, and then I smile, and I show people that I feel happy. And this might be what's common sense, but not necessarily what research has shown is actually the way that emotions are created. So what are some of these theories? So the first theory is the James Lange theory, and this is the idea that our body actually comes first. So you see a snake, your heart rate increases, and that heart rate increase actually signifies to you that you are afraid. So the body comes before the emotion, right? Heart rate speeds up, and then you feel afraid. This is supported by some current research with this idea called the facial feedback hypothesis. So the idea is that your face can actually influence your emotion or your experience of emotion. And they test this by having people look at like different stimuli, so like cartoons or stories, and they have them hold a pencil or a straw or some item, either like A, B, or C. So A kind of forces a smile, B kind of forces like an anger, and C is more of a sad face, right? And they see if they rate the stories or the cartoons differently based on the expression that their face is making. And what they find is that it's a small connection, but there is a connection between the face that you make and rating different stories or pictures or cartoons as happier if you're making a smile face, or sadder if you are making a sad face, right? So this supports the James Lange theory that your body tells you about what emotion you're going to experience. The next theory is Cannon-Bard theory. So this theory is like, no, I don't think the body comes first, because a lot of times our body can feel the same for lots of different emotions. So it can feel like your heart rate might increase for excitement and for fear. So then how do you know which one it is? So the Cannon-Bard theory says that you actually have, that the event happens, you see a snake, your heart rate increases, and you feel fear simultaneously. And that your body and your mind, right, the brain, are kind of working simultaneously, not one before the other, to produce that sensation, right? So your heart rate speeds up as you feel fear simultaneously. And the last kind of theory is a kind of update on James Lange. So the idea is, in this Schachter two-factor theory, that your body arousal comes first. So that's the connection with James Lange. But then, similar to Cannon-Bard, they're like, but the body can feel the same for multiple emotions. So what they said is that then you label the body, and that determines the emotion. So you see a snake, right? You feel fear. Your heart rate speeds up. Maybe you yell out a yell, and you think, I'm scared. And I'm scared right now because this snake could bite me or hurt me or kill me. And then the fear comes, right? Now that would be a different situation than, let's say, if you saw a stimulus that looked like a snake, but it ended up being just like a stick. So your heart rate increases the same, and then you think like, oh, that's nothing, it can't harm me, I'm fine, and then you're not afraid anymore. So the label that you give the situation helps determine the next emotion, right? Your heart rate speeds up, you decide you could get hurt, and then you feel fear, right? So in Schachter's two-factor theory, right, I had a mentor who did this Schachter two-factor Schachter to help the students remember that two-factor. So you have the body and then the label, which is the second factor that influences your emotion. So if you take a look at all three theories, you have arousal, body, fear, arousal, body and fear, and then arousal, body, I'm scared, fear, right? So they all have similar components, but it's the order of the components that change, right? Does the body come first? Does the body and the brain happen simultaneously? Do you have to label the situation, right? And each of these theories is correct based on different emotional situations, right? So for example, with the Schachter two-factor theory, if I am in a new setting and I see someone come up to me, my heart might start pounding. Okay, so does that mean that I am excited by them, I'm attracted to them, or I'm scared of them? Well, it depends. Like, does the person look attractive and am I interested in meeting them, or do I know them? Is it my boyfriend or girlfriend, or is it someone scary who looks like they're trying to hurt me? So the label in that situation does matter because it will change my heart rate, my interpretation of why my heart rate is increasing. However, that is different than another situation where maybe there's less ambiguity and you see something like a snake and you clearly know it's a snake and it could hurt you, that maybe it does feel fear and emotion or the heart pounding fear at the same time, right? So different theories help explain different situations. There is one additional theory that kind of addresses how different types of emotions can have different consequences. So instead of just focusing on the process, this really discusses the difference between how positive and negative emotions impact us. So this theory is called the broaden and build theory. And it's the idea that basically like feeling good, having positive emotions leads to better experiences. So positive emotions open up your perspective. So you broaden your perspective, you take on new ideas, or you're open to relationships. You see, you're like kind of open to new possibilities because you have a positive emotion, which then builds your personal resources. Like you learn more resilience, you meet more people, so you have more social support, you learn more information, which then leads to better well-being, which then leads to more positive emotions, right? So the idea is almost like feel good, do good. Like when you're feeling good, you're more open to things, which makes you more resourceful, which then increases your wellness. And this is kind of the opposite of what can happen with negative emotions. So negative emotions makes you feel like something's wrong. You try to like internalize, kind of hide or escape, and then you have narrow options because you're trying to stay safe, and then this kind of then leads to more negative experience because you have more narrow emotions, right? So today we talked about the basic components of human emotion, some theories, and the difference between positive and negative emotions and our overall well-being. So make sure you can answer these essential questions. That's all for now, AP Psychos, and remember, psychology is flippin' awesome.